Hi, me again. And we're carrying on looking at conditional formatting in Excel here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look and see how we can highlight an entire row again. But we're only going to highlight one row, or whichever row has Joe on the left hand side. We're going to determine whose row it highlights depending on this box here. And this here is actually just a validation setting that I've put on there, which is all of these. So the way we do it, and we know now how to highlight the entire range that we want the conditional formatting applied to, and use our active cell here to build the conditional format. So conditional formatting, and I'm just going to go into new rule and the formula, and I do need to say that cell there, and remember we need to lock this, so F4 twice just to make sure that the A is locked but not the 8 as it moves across. Now the A needs to be locked so that it stays referring to Joe as it moves across here, and the 8 needs not to be locked because as it moves down we don't still want to refer to Joe, we now want to refer to Bill, and when we get down to the third row we want to refer to Fred, or whichever name is in that box. So that needs to be equal to, and rather than typing in or hard coding in the Joe, the Bill, the Fred, what we're now going to do is say equals to that cell there. Now this one here does need to be absolutely locked, because otherwise as we move across here it's going to be referring to other cells elsewhere. So let's just make the format there, and this is quite a simple one, so we'll just highlight, click OK and OK, and you'll see straight away the entire row containing Bill has now been highlighted, and if I change this to Joe, Joe is now highlighted, and Fred likewise. Okay, that's just a quick and easy one there. Let's take this a stage further and highlight a rate as well as the name. So let's see how we do that. So again we need to select the entire section here. Our active cell is now this one. I've gone up a column because I want to include the hours or the rates as well. But actually if you just have a look, I don't have to do it here. What I could have done was just done it from here, because those are the only ones that contain the rate. Yeah. Whichever one I do choose, it's important that I look and check and I build my conditional formatting formula from the active cell. So I'll just do it this way just to show. So it's going to be from that cell there. So conditional formatting, new rule, formula, and I say that one there. Now this time I want this locked, but I want it locked that way. Yep, so that stays still as it moves down, because I want it vertically to colour in, and that needs to be equal to that cell there, rate 3. And that one does need to be absolutely locked again, because otherwise as we move down it'll suddenly relate to Fred. Okay, so what formatting are we going to apply? Well, let's just apply the same formatting again. So click OK and OK, and now rate 3 for Fred is applied. If I go to rate 2, it's applying rate 2, and if I change Fred to Bill, that's now giving me effectively the intersection. But let's take this a stage further, because what we've actually got is we've got 2 sets of conditional formatting applied. Let's now apply a third. So we're going to choose the whole range again, and actually we don't need to, because once again we've got only those cells there where this third condition could possibly be met. So those are the only ones I actually need to highlight, because I've only got rates 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't go outside of that, and I've got Joe, Bill and Fred. So it doesn't actually matter which range you choose to apply the conditional formatting to, as long as it contains where you want those conditions to be met. Now clearly if the conditions can be met outside of it, then you don't want to include that unless you want the same formatting applied there. In this instance they can't be, because what we're going to do is we're going to apply an AND. So we're going to say the cell that we're in, we'll apply the formatting if it equals bill and rate 2. In other words, in this instance, it is that 150. That's the only one that's going to be true. So let's build this, and it's a simple AND function. So I go down there, new rule, use a formula, and I'm going to say the current cell, that one there, equals AND. In fact, I don't even need to do that. I can say, because it's going to apply to whatever cell I'm in. So I'm just going to say AND. And unfortunately, you don't actually get the code prompt here. So you do actually have to type everything in. But what we need to know is we need to know when we're working up an AND, we need to have the criteria. So the first of the criteria is that cell there, and we're going to refer to our active cell again. So our active cell, and this has to be locked in the column. So basically we're building the first part of the function again. And this one here is going to be equal to, so that equals the name there, and that has to be locked absolutely. So now we press comma to move on to our second AND function, and that cell there again, because we're referring to the active cell, but this time locked vertically. Yep, so we're going to move that way. Yep. So this one here is equal to rate 2, and again that has to be locked. So now we close the brackets and choose a format. So we're going to make this one slightly bolder, so we'll make it stand out a bit more. Click OK and OK again, and you'll notice that the cell which is the intersection is coming up with our second color. So if I change that to rate 1, you'll notice it's now that one there. Change that to Joe. And what I've done, the reason I selected the bigger range there for the first two was so that rate 1 is included, because rate 1 is now highlighted if rate 1 equals that, and likewise with Joe. With the second one here, it only matters, I could have done it using that as a selected range, because those are the only cells that the result could have been in. It doesn't actually matter unless there was a possibility elsewhere that I had a rate 1 at the top, or a rate 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah. There is no chance of that happening, so it doesn't matter which selection I chose. That's taken conditional formatting a stage further. In subsequent videos we're going to look at other types of the built-in conditional formatting, things like the data bars, because my personal bugbear with them is that they give a bad impression, and actually if you change the values, the length of other data bars can change where the value hasn't changed. So that's for the next video. I'm the Adobe Guy. I hope this has been useful, and thank you for listening.